Good morning, everybody. You're tuned into Cragcore. Thank you for being here with me today. Today is Wednesday the 16th of August 2023. And today we're going to be going off the reservation, man. We're talking about some reincarnation stuff, but how that ties in to like natural selection, how it ties into the global agenda, and also you know, how it's kind of like weakening the evolution of the human race on the whole, and how that could end in global catastrophe. I mean, off the reservation, man. We're out the fence. You know, we're so far off the reservation here. Our shoes have worn bare, and we're now walking on our skin soles. Now, first and foremost, I heard a theory about the Great Pyramid at Giza. Now, I'm not going to mention where this theory came from, simply because if I get it wrong, I don't want this person to be miscredited, all right? But I would like it to be known that I thoroughly enjoy listening to this person, and they've kind of given me some great concepts over the years, and I can't wait to buy their new book. So apologies if I get this wrong. However, you know, and thank you to that person. If you do see this video, you'll know who you are, and if I get it right, then drop a thumbs up and I shall make sure you get the credit. Now then, I heard a theory about the Great Pyramid at Giza. It's apparently embedded with a codex, and that codex is able to predict the reincarnation of certain people, down to the finite details, name, fucking, you know, date, time, whatever, even down to the street that you will be born on, or the street you'll be living on when you're born. That is incredible, to say the least, right? This is based upon having a genetic, physical ancestry, and like a genetic, what that does is it creates like a genetic memory. So the ancestral lineage creates a genetic blueprint, so on and so forth. So ultimately you can have genetic memories passed down from generation to generation based on the experience that was had during those lifetimes. Now, that's all said and done, okay? But there is also, if you acknowledge that your soul is separate to your body, there's also a soul memory and a soul lineage. And ultimately, what this gives us is somebody else's input now with regards to the soul and how that interacts with the human body. Because if you listen to, say for instance, folks like Dolores Cannon, she was saying, I think allegedly she said that in her readings that she's done, there are souls that she's contacted that have said that certain high vibrational frequency souls are trying to enter in to this physical world to try and raise the vibration of planet Earth. Now, I mentioned on the other video that I did the other day that this has a potential for a catastrophic, cataclysmic effect on the planet with regards to how our electromagnetic field interacts with the greater electromagnetic field of the planet. But we'll get to that on a greater scale in a bit. So basically, she also says, you know, allegedly in her readings, that some of the physical bodies of these people that she's done the readings for have been in some ways, you know, riddled with diseases or, you know, bits and bobs like that. They've had physical ailments. And that's down to the soul. For want of a better phrase, I'm kind of paraphrasing here and simplifying things. And again, I apologise if I'm getting this completely wrong, but from what I can gather, it's from the soul being out of sync with the body with regards to, you know, the soul being of such a high vibration. Now, from what I can gather then, you know, you put these two parallel pieces together and you say, well, the soul and the body are separate. If you've got then a soul that's trying to enter into a body that is of a lower vibrational frequency, it causes the body to ultimately break down, become disease-ridden, because it can't contain such a high frequency of energy. So then you're going to say, well, how then is this possible? Because surely natural selection keeps any bloodline strong. You know, any race, when I want to say race, I mean the human race, like races, you know, the bird race, the fucking, you know, the cat race. Everything becomes optimal, doesn't it? Based on a set of natural parameters that nature usually follows. Now, there was a study that was done on compatibility with regards to how women are attracted to men based on a pheromone. Now, ultimately, what they did was they got these various different men to sweat into a t-shirt, do exercise and sweat into a t-shirt. Now, women went along and they smelled these t-shirts, and based on the smell, it kind of then, they were like, yeah, I like that one. That's who I'd be attracted to. Now, this is based on not only pheromones, but also like with regards to a genetic breakdown of who you'd be best compatible with should you procreate. So if you think about it, your genetic structure naturally, on a subconscious animalistic level, your body knows through its own fucking DNA frequencies that which it is slightly lacking in, that which it needs balancing out, because it may have an overactive tendency with that, so on and so forth. So it knows what it needs in order to balance itself out. Should there be a procreation, that particular human body that is created from both of those DNAs coming together, that baby being the optimum creation. All right, this is all done on a subliminal, subconscious, natural level by the human body. All right, now look at it this way: every single fucking life form on this planet, it's their duty to procreate. That's one of the physical purposes. It's the reason we have sexual organs. You know, it's to procreate. Now you think about, hence the term pro, okay? Because it's supposed to be about creating an optimal specimen. You know, so naturally, the strongest form will be the dominant, which will be that which goes forward. This is why, you know, like, it's nature's natural way of creating, making itself stronger with each generation that passes. It's fucking simple, isn't it? And it's perfect when you think about it, because it needs to evolve. Like, life's purpose, physical life's purpose, is to evolve and move forward with strength. So every time it becomes stronger. Now, if anybody believes the whole fish jumping on a fucking beach a million times and it grew legs and became an amphibious lizard, well, then you can understand that, right? Evolution. It's about adaptability. Now, surely everything evolves, right, to become the most optimum version of itself. That's what learning is about. That's why people pick up a fucking book. That's why when you're born, your brain's a blank slate and you learn things. You learn to walk because it's not optimal to continue to crawl, is it? All right. So as we look on the macro here, it is the body's natural process to evolve itself through procreation. All right. Which means it has to select the correct mate so that the person that is created out of those two people is the optimal creation. So therefore, with that generational evolution, the human race becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. What would be the point in going backwards? It wouldn't. So, the planet is apparently constantly evolving, moving through energy fields which keep ramping up, which are evolving the planet in some ways. And if you're not evolving with it to match that frequency, well, then you're going to find yourself out of sync. Think of it like a tuning fork. I said this on the other video where I spoke about this. The larger, more dominant frequency will tune the others into it. But if you can create a majority of little tuning forks that are humming at the wrong frequency, well, then it will throw the major frequency, in this case the frequency of the planet, completely out of whack. And if you understand then that everything on this planet is controlled by that electromagnetic field that we're all swimming through, we're all connected to and part of, you wave your arms around, you're fucking waving your arms around in it, you might as well be swimming. If you understand that everything is controlled by that, well, then you throw it out of sync, what do you think is going to happen? Weather. Fuck me, man, the planet could crack in half. What if that's the force that holds everything in? Before you know it, the planet just fucking breaks apart, man. Because the frequency has been shattered. Now this is the catastrophic cataclysm that could take place, apparently, you know. Another one of Dolores Cannon's readings, I mentioned it in the other video. There'll be a catastrophic cataclysm that will be brought about by the fucking human race and their harmonic frequencies. Now, if we're out of harmony with our planet, well, you know, as soon as it reaches a majority, all it's got to be is 51%, for crying out loud. That's the majority. Well, then things go bad, don't they? Things get worse on a physical scale here. Now, you've got to ask yourself who could be involved in this. You know, because I never mentioned, actually, I never got to the end of the study with regards to the procreation. Before we move on to who could be involved in this great scheme. Now, ultimately, this test that took place with the women and who they were attracted to based on the pheromones and, you know, it being worked out based on who they'd better be to procreate with, it was done with a defining factor with regards to the results. Now, that defining factor was the contraceptive pill. Now, what they did was they sent 50% of women in that were taking the contraceptive pill, and the other 50% weren't. And then they looked at the results of who they chose to be with based on the smell of those pheromones. Every single woman that was on the pill, that was on the contraceptive pill, chose wrong. Meaning that by taking the contraceptive pill, it's, for want of a better phrase, creating a nose-blind race of women out there that are choosing the wrong men to procreate with, thus weakening the genetic structure of the human race, which is now no longer procreating, it's just creating. All right? And then you start looking at the soul level of this. The souls that are coming in, if your soul is on a parallel to your body and evolving with regards to a lineage of experience, if your soul is now evolved past where the body that you're supposed to inhabit is, well, then you're going to find an out of whack scenario happening there, and life isn't going to be, it's going to be chaotic here, because the very people themselves are in chaos, quite simply because within themselves they're not fundamentally in tune with one another. The soul and the body is no longer in tune. Now, I personally think, you know, you've got to say, because there has to be a culprit in all of this. You can't just say, oh, well, you know, this is all happening by accident, because it's not. Like the contraceptive pill, man. Who knew? Who knew, okay? They say that most women that stop taking the contraceptive pill, after a certain amount of time, they start to become attracted to the right people. They have a better time of relationships. Now, if it's hit and miss, most of the time miss, that you end up with the right person whilst you're on this thing. I mean, these drugs are designed, aren't they? Let's face it, they're fucking designer drugs. They're designed in a laboratory. What does it do? It shuts down your ability for procreation. Therefore, the need to have that as a defining factor on who you end up with sexually is no longer in the picture. I mean, it's fucking simple, right? Whether it's designed or not in that way, that's what it does, because it's taking away the deciding factor. So now you're having sex with people who you've got no inclination really to procreate with, because ultimately that procreative fucking defining factor has been taken away through the contraceptive pill. You're no longer in a procreative state. So it's not a deciding factor in who you choose as a partner. Therefore, that particular tuning fork within your body is now no longer humming at all. So that lens has been taken out, and you're not seeing people through it. So therefore, you're having sex with people, you're getting into long-term relationships with people that aren't for that purpose. But the human body being what it is, it'll still fucking create a baby if you're not careful. Alright? Let's just say those two people say, fuck it, let's start a family. She stops taking the pill. They have a baby. All of a sudden they realise they don't like each other. Why? Well, because now that aspect of your DNA, that part of you, is now kicking back in. And you realise that this is now a defining factor in how you see the world, how you see other people. And now, because it's a defining factor, it doesn't matter that you've been with that person for years. Now it's a defining factor in how you choose a mate. They're no longer your choice. So people fucking break up. You've got trauma there on that child because they've got a fucking broken home. It's mad. I mean, it's quite simple when you think about it. But who promotes the fucking pill? Who puts it out there? You know, you've got Big Pharma, the globalists, basically. If they know, and I guarantee you they do, if they know about the potentials for reincarnation, if they know about the potentials for the genetic and the soul memory, and how that can be thrown out of whack to throw the planet out of whack, which then can bring around natural catastrophes, so they can swoop in and be the fucking messiahs of the day and switch things around, or quite simply be the rulers of the ashes thereafter. Well, you'd have to say, I certainly know where to fucking point the finger there. You'd have to say it's part of the globalist agenda, isn't it? Because if these people know about it all, well, then you can guarantee that they're going to utilize it, and you can guarantee that it's part of the bigger fucking plan in overview, isn't it? Let's face it, man. The thing is, we look at all of these little individual aspects of our life, don't we? You know, we talk about reincarnation completely separately to say things like the physical, with regards to what it is that actually the physical is. You know, and if everything works on a frequency, if everything works on a vibration, if your soul has been through certain lives and has now developed a certain soul memory, which has now elevated itself to a certain point where it requires a certain frequency of body to house it, and it hasn't got that, well, then it's going to be incapable of fulfilling what it needs to fulfill. Now, if we're all supposed to evolve at the same pace, well, you would say naturally then you take away certain things like artificial fucking ability. You know, you take away the contraceptive pill, you take away the artificial ability to not conceive. You know, because ultimately some people are naturally incapable. But then what you're doing is, by giving somebody the pill, you're giving them the artificial ability to not conceive. So ultimately, you'd take that away, wouldn't you? Naturally, you'd leave things up to the natural world. Considering that we're all connected, part of this natural world. All right, you'd leave it to natural selection. People would end up finding the right partners based on now that aspect of their selection being part of their fucking choice making. They would then procreate, therefore creating the stronger versions of themselves through their children based on what it is their subconscious is getting them to do through their genetic memory and genetic antenna, telling them what they need on a subliminal level based on the frequency of the fucking smell that they're getting from the pheromones, based on what they need balancing out in their bodies so that the person that they create is of optimum fucking prime performance, all right? Then you'd have a super strong, super capable, high frequency, optimal version of human race. That's what you'd have. Whether it be fucking black, white, Chinese, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. It would literally simply be the optimum fucking version of it, because now you've got the actual compass activated for this procreation to take place. Now, then let's just say then you've got your soul, who is living multiple lives, because apparently that's what happened. It's living multiple lives transdimensionally all at the same time. And all of those lives are creating a learning process which ultimately triangulate on the soul on the whole which is your soul connected to all these other lives. So therefore, anything that is learned in all these other lives is ultimately learned by you at the same time, because it's all you. So during your life, you can fucking level up on a frequency vibe. It's not a problem. Of course you can. Through reincarnation, fuck me, it's going up through the roof. You need a better body now, yeah? But it doesn't matter, because genetically, you've got that fucking human race that's evolving, the genetic, physical human race that is now evolving at the same pace. Your evolved soul can now come straight back in, reincarnate, and keep the process going. The earth itself, evolving on its own, is now able to match that. You're matching it, and everything is now a progressive hierarchy. Everything's helping one another. It's like a fucking feedback loop where everything's working off everything else, pushing it forward. That's what fucking happens. You start throwing in the oligarchy and how they want to try and fucking dilute the population here and there, and throw your fucking DNA out of whack through poisonous jabs, and like fucking give you drugs that stop you being able to select the right people to procreate with, you know, and then they start fucking diluting your soul with all of this fucking crazy brain trauma and shit, and fucking brainwashing and fucking whatever else they do to us. Karma keeping you tied down here in the fucking negative, heavy physical. Well, then you've got yourself a recipe for disaster. And on that note, this is Crag Course signing off. I'm going to wish love and peace to all things everywhere. Thank you for being here with me today. Peace.